for the
Go ahead. Sorry.
April 30th, 2021 GBOS special meeting regarding revised 2021 area-wide tax increase impact on Girdwood will begin at 1:02 p.m. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors, its committees, and subcommittees are subject to the Alaska Open Meetings Act as found in Alaska Statute 44.62.310 and Anchorage Municipal Code 1.25, public meetings. The Girdwood Board of Supervisors operates under the Girdwood Public Meeting Standards of Conduct. We'll call to order at 1:03 p.m. Brianna Sullivan, co-chair. I'll do roll call and start. My name is Brianna Sullivan, Parks and Recreation Supervisor, Temporary Fire Department Supervisor, co-chair. Mike, you can go ahead.
So it's Mike Edgington, co-chair and Land Use Supervisor.
Okay, Jennifer, are you here?
I'm here, GBOS and potentially temporary on Public Service Committee, Public Safety, sorry.
Okay, any other GBOS members that came in?
Amanda Sassy, the road supervisor.
Okay, thank you. Any disclosures at this point?
Well, I'm a taxpayer in Girdwood, but I think that applies to all of us. So.
Yes, it does. Okay, thank you. Agenda revisions and approval for April 30th, 2021 special meeting. Anyone move to approve?
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. Announcements. The public is encouraged to ask questions and provide comment. Please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please keep your phone muted until called on to talk. To help discussion stay productive, please direct your comments to the board rather than other members of the public and keep your comments focused on the business under discussion. Please be respectful of everyone's opinions. All right, our agenda is review the revised 2021 area-wide tax increase and impact on Girdwood. Mike, would you like to begin?
I'll start briefly and then hand it over to Kyle, I think. Yeah, so I think there's been a decent amount of publicity in the last 12 hours or so on this topic. So basically the situation as I understand it is the Assembly passed the new budget or the 2021 budget, revised budget, on Tuesday night. Later on in that meeting, and I was looking through the details, I noticed that there was a shift in monies between different tax funds, and that resulted in no impact at all for most of Anchorage, the Anchorage Bowl area, but a very big impact, an increase in tax for Girdwood, Turnagain, and a smaller but still significant impact in an increase in tax in parts of Eagle River and the hillside. Basically areas which do not receive Anchorage Fire Department and Anchorage Police Department saw a jump in tax with no additional service. It was just an artifact of the way that money had been moved around. So I contacted our Assembly members and the administration, and we've had a couple of discussions since then. And this is the first time we're having a public meeting on the topic. So that's my quick summary. We can obviously go into more detail later. Kyle, perhaps you want to add some?
Sure. So basically, this is a quick tutorial on how the budget process works, especially for Girdwood. In the fall, we submit our operating budgets for the next fiscal year. And at that point in time, the Assembly initially approves those budgets. And then once the year starts, we submit a revised budgets for the year. And I believe for Girdwood this year, we didn't revise our budgets. We stick with our original budgets. But throughout the municipality, there are budget changes. And so once people have a better understanding of the expenses for the previous year, that helps them at times to revise. And then there's calculated moves you have to make dealing with tax cap and things along those lines. So what the Assembly was approving in this last round was the revised budgets for 2021, so for this fiscal year. And through that process, they were also dealing with CARES Act funding. In the initial rollout and the response to funding, funding the response to the coronavirus, the municipality was paying for those expenses. And from what I understand, and there's others on here who can also confirm this, is that they had to use the area-wide fund balance. And the fund balance is basically, in simple terms, is like a savings account. Money, Girdwood service area has a fund balance. When we have a surplus in our operating budgets, that money goes into the fund balance, and that fund balance helps to cover us for emergency funds. It also helps to put money in reserve for our bonding. The municipality has one of the highest bonding rates out there because of their good reserves, and they have good credit. And so, and then beyond that, we have an undesignated fund that sits in there of that. So yes, they had to recharge that fund balance because that fund balance got used for the COVID response. And when federal funds came in, they had to rebalance that account. What happened was they reduced the APD and AFD account and or the mill rate, and then increased the area by recharge account. And what that did is it had a counter effect to us because we aren't certified AFD or APD.
Kyle, can you encourage?
Sorry, Kyle, I think you're muted. I just accidentally muted you as well.
Am I muted? Okay. So anyways, what happened is the mill rates got switched around and the area-wide got increased to help recharge the area-wide fund balance. And in the Anchorage Bowl area, the AFD and the APD mill rates got reduced. So for them, it was close to a net zero. There are definitely increases that we were dealing with this year that aren't associated with the fund balance, but that was calculated and we saw that coming. So for us, we aren't served by AFD or APD, and when that area-wide gets raised, it's a big impact upon us when we're calculating our taxes. Historically, our area-wide over the last 10 years has actually been what we've been taxed is actually negative 0.01 mil. So we actually were getting a rebate because the area-wide is funded by other revenues outside of property taxes, a variety of revenues that come in and fund the mill rate in that aspect. And so sometimes when you looked at your bill, you would see actually a negative number, so that brought your mill rate down in that aspect. One thing I could share here quickly so you can have an idea about it is I did a quick historical on the mill rate. So you can see it here I brought up. Sorry as I go here. Basically, the top line here is 2021. And if you look at it in comparisons to 2020, which we just came out of, you can see the substantial jump in mill rate for us, going from negative 0.12 to 2.54. We expected the area-wide to go up because of expenses this year. We were thinking it might be at a half a mil or things like that from what we were calculating. And so that was a significant jump. And thanks to Mike, who caught this, it stuck out like a sore thumb. And so that's what's kind of brought us today. So you can see sort of the historical averages down here for the 10 years. We've been at a negative 0.01. The service area's average for 10 years has been 4.52. The school district has been 7.23 mils. And what is new to all of this is now we have 1.09 mils. And that's because the state is no longer reimbursing for bond debt. And so now we've had to take that on to repay that, where historically the state has always reimbursed that as part of their responsibility for providing funding for education. And then there's two other ones at point 2. There's the area-wide EMS lease. It's for area-wide EMS, which is part of area-wide services. And then APD at 0.04 as part of area-wide there. So overall, you can see a significant jump here. And just to give you comparisons, tax district 1 here on the far right, that is we would say the bowl of Anchorage, where you receive the core services, parks and rec, street maintenance, fire, parks, or police, things like that. And you can see that their normal, their mill rate for this year is at 17.91 in comparison to last year at 17.1. So they're pretty close to where they are, and they're dealing with these increases that we are related to school bond and the EMS and APD. So that's kind of where we're at this point. So what the issue is trying to figure out how to fix this 2.54 that is affecting Girdwood's overall mill rate in the end. Back to you, Mike.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that level of detail there, Kyle. That's great. So that shows where all the numbers come up from. The way I've been summarizing it is there are three main things which are affecting the tax rate we would see if there wasn't change. 2 of those we're expecting. We were expecting to have to pay higher taxes because the state is not refunding the school bond, the school construction bond debt. So we were expecting a little bit of an increase of that. We in Girdwood knew that the assessment values, because property prices have gone up, we knew the assessment values were going up. And together, those 2 effects, we expected to hit our property taxes by maybe 10 to 15%, that sort of increase. This other thing, which is entirely accidental, really, and should not be applied, is the thing that's making them grow by about 40%, unless there is action taken to fix this. And the message, at least, I'm sure we'll hear from Assembly members later. The message I've received from our Assembly members is that they fully intend to fix it. The administration has to come up with a mechanism for doing that. And at least as of yet, we haven't seen what that mechanism is. So there needs to be a way to do it, and we haven't heard what that is yet. I'm hoping we can hear about that during this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I see Assembly representatives here. Would Representative Welton or LaFrance like to speak?
This is John. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think what might be more helpful if the city manager, Anna, is here to maybe give us an update on where the administration is. Because I think for Suzanne and I, what you've heard from Kyle and Mike is essentially what we know at this point. Suzanne might know more, but.
Okay, thank you. I do see Anna.
I do agree with what John said. This is Suzanne. Thanks.
Good afternoon. This is Anna Henderson, Municipal Manager. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. So great introduction into the issue and how we got to today. And then I understand the question to the administration is what's our proposed solution. Also on the line is Chief of Staff Jason Bockenstead and OMB Director Lance Wilbur. We did send Kyle a document to you that we can share with the group, and Jason is going to start off the summary of what our proposed solution is at this point, and Lance can add detail as we go along if there's any questions. So Jason, are you on the line? And
I am, thanks. And Kyle, I see it's up on the screen, but at least for me, it's very tiny. So I don't know if it's the same way for others. Okay, that's
just increase it. Can it look better now?
It looks much better on my end. So
okay.
I hope that it does for everyone else.
Yep.
So I think that both you and Mike have obviously done a very good job of explaining kind of the situation that we find ourselves in. And, you know, we have spent the last couple of days figuring out the best approach to fix this anomalous result from all of the federal funds that we have received over the last several years. Before I kind of get into that, I do want to say, just so that it's understood, that the mill rate calculation that was produced was correct based on the information we put into the system. It's used the same methodology that we've used in previous years. So I don't want it to come across as the mill rate is wrong or something like that. It was right based on the information that we put into the system. Now, we have spent the last several days looking at that to based on the information, based on all of the federal funds, how we can make the mill rates more appropriate based on all of that. And as you can see on this page, I'll start at the top, and certainly I have Lance Wilbur here as well, who's the OMB director, who can help explain this more on the technical side. But essentially, we have gone back, looked at what the mill rate for the area-wide needs to be, all inclusive of the two bond propositions in 103 and 107. That's the area-wide EMS and then the APD IT related things that were included to essentially create the equitable result that we want. And as you can see, the area-wide for everyone based on that would be 2.67 mils. And if you look all the way across, that gets us to a tax levy in Girdwood of 16.21. That's obviously not what we want. So as we move our way down and you see the next two lines, you see the fire first responder relief and the police first responder relief. That is the amount 1.14 and 1.48 for a total of 2.6 mils that the individuals living in those service areas would see a reduction as a result of all of the federal funds that we received last year going towards paying first responder payroll. What we would envision happening is that because Girdwood does not have either of those services, you would receive a credit of 2.62 mils on your tax bill, which would then result in your area-wide mill rate being 0.05 for this year. And as you go across the bottom, that would get you with the Girdwood Valley levy, with the ASD increases as a result of no longer the state covering school bond debt reimbursement, of a levy of 13.59, which I believe, based on the document that I've seen Mike put together, is pretty close to what was expected. I believe that it was 5898 on the document that Mike put together in terms of the average residents in Girdwood would expect. And as you can see here, based on this, the average this year would be $59.55. So it's within essentially $55 based on this. But this essentially allows Girdwood to receive the full, essentially, decrease from the first responder and police responder. You will no longer be responsible for having to pay that. So that's a very, very high level overview. I will ask Lance to jump in to provide maybe additional detail, or if I missed anything in this, and then certainly would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Jason, can I jump in? Mike, Mr. Chairman, can I jump in real quick? This is Lance Wilbur at OMB.
Yes, please.
Okay. First, I want to say thank you for helping us recognize this. And as Jason mentioned, you know, the way in which we calculate the mill rates for all of the service areas is based on the input that we put in, and we do the calculation. Unless we do something manually to manipulate that outcome, the outcome of the mill rates as they've been done over the years are corrected or accurately calculated. Obviously, 2020 was not normal in the way in which the accounting and how the dollars were allocated. And I want to say, Kyle, if you ever need a new gig, OMB's door is always open. You did an excellent job explaining how we got to the mill rates to this point. And so very well done. And I thought you did a great job. But what we want to do here is we have to make a policy call, and basically, for lack of a better word, we're going to force an adjustment to one time for Girdwood to apply the same amount of basically relief to area-wide that those that are in police and fire service area to an equal amount, which then gets your area-wide mill rate back down to 0.05. And so that is what we need the Assembly to, first of all, two things, you know, agree with the approach to the administration's proposal on the method that we want to do this. I think it makes a lot of sense. The math is the exact same math that will be applied to anyone that lives in, as Kyle mentioned, in the downtown area. It's the same amount, the 1.14 and the 1.48 is the mill equivalent to the tax benefit those places are going, and we would just force that application onto Girdwood Valley. And basically doing it one time this year and for that purpose. So this is generally what we would like the Assembly to consider and do it, and recognize that it's a one-time purpose. And again, the reason that we didn't recognize it right off the bat is that, you know, knowing that Girdwood is not in the fire and police service area, this forced application for the reduction was not applied. And so we would ask the Assembly to help us make that adjustment, and hopefully they will. We looked at, we think this is not only the most equitable way to do it, but it's also, I think, the most, right now, the best, the fairest way to apply that reduction. And I hope that this simple illustration makes a lot of sense and sort of on track with what you guys were thinking. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Lance, and thoroughly explaining that. I see Mike has his hand up, and then we'll go after that other hands that are up. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Lance and Jason, for explaining that. It looks like a good solution. There's a couple of things I'd like to comment on. The first thing is, I think I heard several people say this would apply to Girdwood. The way I see it, at least written down here, is this appears to be a more general solution which would apply to all areas outside of fire department and or police department. So the same solution would apply to Turnigan Arm, bits of parts of Eagle River, Chugiak, Birchwood, parts of the hillside. That's my understanding, and I just want you to hopefully confirm that. And my second comment is, if I understand the math correctly, the reason there's a small difference between the calculation I had with what I believe our tax rate should have been and what you're proposing here, so that $55 or $57 that Jason mentioned, is because the rebate is effectively spread across the whole of the municipality, not just the police and fire areas. I think that's why there's a small difference. I wondered if Lance could confirm that, and then someone could confirm that this adjustment will be applied to all of the areas within the municipality which are being hit by this surprise tax increase.
Lance, do you want me to take the first part and you can take the second?
Yes.
All right. So Mike, to your question, yes, we only kind of put this together since we're meeting with GBoss, but your intuition on this is exactly correct in that it will apply to the other areas, but maybe not to the same extent that it does to Girdwood, because some of the other areas do have police. They're in the police service area. They just might not be in the fire service area. So their reduction would be closer to 1.14 mils instead of the full 2.62. So depending on which service area you have, that would be, or which service area you are not in, that would be the reduction that you have. And then I'll let Lance answer the other question.
Could you just provide a very specific answer, Jason? So specifically the other Turnagain communities, so Bird, Indian, Rainbow, etc., and Portage, which also are not in the police service area, they will receive full relief as well, correct?
I will let Lance verify that, but I believe the answer to that is yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Jason, thank you. And Mike, yes, you're correct. The same thing would apply to those areas as well. Again, if we have any tax district that did not receive the fire or the police, we are going to apply this similar sort of application of area-wide tax relief to those areas. Yes. And I'm sorry, Mike, can you repeat the second question? My apologies.
My second question, this is just a small, tiny technical detail I obsess over, but Jason mentioned that pointed out that the tax rate is actually a little higher than the calculation I did for my assumption about the default. And I think that's just because this rebate is now spread across the whole of the municipality, not just the fire and police service areas, or the Anchorage fire and Anchorage police service areas. I think that's why the rebate is a little smaller, and that's why the final rate is a little higher, which I think equated to $57 extra for $438,000 assessed house.
Yeah, Mike, in general, you are correct. That's exactly that's part of the reason why it's going up just slightly. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jason and Lance. And our next question was from Debbie Osiander.
Mike answered it for me. Thank you. And thank you to the Girdwood for letting us know up in Chugiak and Birchwood about this. I'm listening with interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Osiander. Are there any other hands that aren't up, but people that would like to ask a question to the board? I see Doug Menish. Go ahead, Doug. Doug, you're still muted.
Let's try that.
There.
Can you hear you? I think I'm hearing this is a one-time adjustment. I think I heard that several times. Is this because, and I don't really understand the intricacies of this, but is this something we're going to be dealing with next year and the year after, and just have to look for ways to deal with it each time it comes up, or is there some kind of systemic remedy that we can make to this?
Thank you, Doug. Kyle, would you like to clarify that?
I'll probably say this is a one-time deal, but I'll put that to Lance and Jason just to confirm, because I think it all has to deal with the CARES Act money and funding things along those lines.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you for the thank you for the question, whoever the gentleman was that asked. And the answer is yes. Last year in 2020, we applied for the first time ever the CARES dollars in first responder. So we use those dollars to support first responder payroll. So assuming that was a one-off event and we don't do that again, we will be back to our normal process, and this is a one-time event. So that is correct.
Thank you, Lance. Jason, did you have anything to add?
No, I agree with Lance. This should be a one-time issue based on the kind of unprecedented amount of federal relief that we received last year.
Okay, thank you. I see Brooks Chandler. You can go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. My question is, what is the mechanics for implementing the fix, I'm looking at the budget ordinance that set the area-wide mill rate, and I'm wondering if that has to be amended, or is this simply a administration policy document that the Assembly will approve, or something different?
Who would like to take that?
Yeah, I'll take the first stab at that, and thanks for that question. So I think, as everyone knows, there is a special assembly meeting on Monday to discuss this and put this fix into code. So we are working with the Department of Law and with the Assembly Counsel's Office to figure out what is the most appropriate way for us to do this. But ultimately, it can't just be done by the administration. We will put something in front of the Assembly on Monday, either in the form of an amendment that would amend the ordinance that was approved on Tuesday, or because the time is of the essence, there would potentially be an emergency ordinance that would be introduced with these changes inserted into it that then the Assembly would be able to approve Monday night. But we're still working through those pieces with the Department of Law and Assembly Counsel's Office to make sure that we do what is most appropriate to get this approved Monday night, so that everyone can have assurances this is done and corrected in the way that we are describing.
Thank you. Jerry Fox.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. It's fairly obvious, but I just want to make sure. So the credit goes to the area-wide. The GBOS has their own budgets for fire and police and parks and rec. And so those budgets will stay the same. And that credit will just be applied on your taxes. There will but not be any first responder relief for police department or fire department. Those budgets will stay the same. Is that correct?
That's this is Lance. That's correct, Jerry. That's a good question.
Thank you, Lance. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? Okay. Any other hands? Mike, please.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I'd like to say thank you for the thank you for taking this problem seriously and rushing because of the very small time window we have to fix it. I think there's still there's kind of an underlying problem that's sort of behind all of this. I know you said your standard model generates these numbers, but I feel there should have been attention to how this would impact all parts of the municipality. There is a sense from Girdwood, I'm sure other communities as well, that being outlying areas we're not taking quite as seriously, and the analysis that would happen if there was a surprise increase in Anchorage Bowl isn't necessarily done for the more outlying communities. And I just want to use this as an opportunity to remind everyone in the administration that we're here, we're kind of loud sometimes, and please consider the impact everywhere when these unusual situations happen.
Thank you very much, Mike. John Weddleton, please go ahead.
Sure, I assume you're winding down because I don't want to hog anyone else's time, but I do want to thank Mike Edgington for calling attention to this. It was obviously super important, but also for the administration. This isn't really, as Jason said, an error. It's just this is the calculations. To me, it's more of a reflection of the service area concept that Anchorage is. We're not really a city, we're a conglomeration of service areas, and it makes these things fairly complicated. So I want to thank them for that. So, on the special meeting on Monday, the agenda will come out with probably a presentation by the administration. Then it'll show the Assembly's consideration of either an amendment or a new ordinance to replace 2021-36. And then audience participation. And what I expect to do is move the audience participation to after the administration's presentation to give people a chance to talk. And in that case, you can certainly, we'll be in the chambers, you can come. You can also sign up to get a phone call. There may not be much to say if this works, but we're also going to do it. I need to check with Kyle, put pressure on Kyle here, but make it so that people can go to the community center in Girdwood. We'll be Facebook Living the meeting, and then people would just call from there instead of, I mean, you can do it from home or you could do it there. So just kind of make it easy for everyone. And I think we're going to try to do something similar in Eagle River.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks.
Weddleton. There's a few people that were going to speak. Kyle, did you have anything first?
No, go ahead. I'm
Okay. Anna Henderson, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. This is Anna Henderson. I just wanted to address Mike's comment, and it is, I acknowledge it and agree that we should highlight a little bit more the impacts and percentages in the 1Q budget package. So we've talked about that internally and inserting some tables that show the changes from one year to the next and the percentage increase, and that should address this issue in the future. And as we've said, we don't anticipate, but certainly willing to take lessons learned from this experience. So thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And thank you, Anna. Lance, you were also waiting before Anna too. Thank you, Lance.
Yeah, and I just wanted to thank Mike and the assembly members for being patient with us and letting us come up with a thoughtful solution that makes a lot of sense, and hopefully the assembly will support that. And I also want to let you know that we've been talking to the municipal treasurer on how this adjustment will actually reflect on your tax bill. And in summary, what you're going to see is you're going to see that 2.67 as your area wide, but then at the bottom of your tax bill, you're going to see those credits of 2.62. So the bottom line will show that 0.5 for your area wide. That's generally, I think, how we're going to make this happen inside the tax bills that we need to get out on the street. So hopefully the assembly will help us on move that along on Monday night. And again, thank you everyone for giving us a chance to explain what we have proposed for sort of a forced correction, and look forward to chatting with you on Monday night. And thank you very much.
Again, thank you, Lance. Suzanne LaFrance.
Thank you, Brianna. I did want to just point out that the assembly will be meeting on the 4th floor of the LUSAC and not the chambers on Monday, since there is a Planning and Zoning Commission hearing that's going on in the chambers. And I also wanted to echo thanks to Mike for bringing this to everyone's attention, and the work done by Kyle and the others in Girdwood, and the administration, Anna and Lance and Jason, for coming up with a solution. And like all of you, I'm eager to see it resolved to the community's satisfaction. And just based on the comments that have been made, it sounds like there's general agreement and a high level of comfort with this approach. So I'm really happy with the outcome, and thanks for letting me speak and participate in the meeting.
Thank you, Suzanne, for all of your service. We appreciate all of these attendees as well. Everyone, thank you for taking time out of your days to address this hugely important issue. And kudos to you, Mike, as well. Mandy Hawes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just had 2 quick questions. Is there any chance that after the Monday meeting that the mill rate would be anything different, calculated anything different than the 13.59 as presented today? And then also on Kyle's schedule that we saw with the historical mill rates, could you remind all of us of the total mill rate for last year so we can anticipate the % increase going forward? And I'll just echo the thanks to raising the issue to all of you and the quick response from the city. Thank you so much.
And to answer Mandy's question there, last year's mill rate was 12.93. So this year you'll be seeing that increase of, sorry, 13.
5%.
Be going up 0.66 this year. So.
Thank you. And then just the question about, is there any chance that it would be calculated as a different percentage?
I'm looking for who's here. I think everyone's still here. Kyle, Lance, or Jason?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I mean, I think we're pretty confident these are gonna change, are not gonna change. I mean, I think we're 95% there. Obviously, we want to double check our math, but again, this is a draft, but I really think that, you know, this is where we're gonna land on Monday night. So unless there's some other changes that I'm not aware of, but I think we've scrubbed it pretty hard to get to this point.
Okay, Mike?
I just wanted to say a little bit more to Mandy's question. So there are a couple of things changing. The mill rate is one of those, and this increase in mill rate is almost just due to the state not providing the bond debt rebates that it had done in previous years. So I mean, it was well signposted. It's a state action that's causing that. And actually, the Girdwood component, the Girdwood Valley service area mill rate has decreased. It's decreased to compensate for the increase in assessed values. So most residential homes will have gone up in assessed value, so there will be an additional, there will be an increase due to that increase in assessed values, although some commercial properties have decreased. So it very much depends on exactly where you are as to what the overall effect will be. But this is pretty much in line with what I think we expected by a combination of state actions to reduce bond repayments and the increase in assessed values.
Okay, I'm looking for hands. Does anyone else have a question or comment? Any phone numbers that are calling in? If you have one, just please unmute yourself.
You push *9 to unmute.
*9. Don't see any yet. Okay, I don't see any other hands. Any other comments or questions from the board or from staff? Okay. I can move on to public comment. Public comment. Persons offering public comment must state their full name and address. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person and must be on subjects not listed on the agenda. Do we have any public comment today?
I'd like to make one.
Okay, I can't see your name. Go ahead and identify yourself, please.
My name's Tim Cabana, box 201, Girdwood, Alaska. And I would just like to, since we got a lot of people on here, I would like to point out that the municipality came out with a RFP, a request for proposal for Heritage Land Bank land on April 6th. So essentially a little over a month ago. And it is going to be awarded on May 14th. And it was not brought in front of the GBOS or the Land Use Committee. And they're talking about selling or somehow putting this 150 acres onto Girdwood. And to put that in perspective, all the private land in Girdwood is 320 acres, a little less. So this is a huge deal that has kind of got fast forwarded, and I don't think a lot of people are familiar with it. So now they will be. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another comment. Kyle or Shelley Roten?
Go with Shelley.
Shelley.
Hi, thanks, Brianna. Just to clarify, the RFP was released. The proposals are due May 14th. There will be an evaluation committee comprised of Muni staff and Girdwood residents that will evaluate that after. We may or may not award any. We may award to 3 people. We don't know. We don't know what's going to come. It's not for the full 150 acres. It's for any portion thereof. So if there's 3 acres that someone wants to develop, they can pick out that 3 acres and tell us about it. We had 2 applications for that property. So the responsible thing was to put it out to RFP. We could have directly negotiated with either one of those parties, but we put it out for proposal so that we could get the best of what the community has to offer. We did discuss it in the Housing Working Group and in the Land Use Committee meetings, Girdwood Area Plan meetings. It hasn't been hidden. So we had an informational meeting that was well attended by both Girdwood residents and builders. So yeah, that's how that's going. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Jerry Fox, public comment.
Yeah, I just want to ask Shelley a question about that. She stated that members of Girdwood would be helping to determine whether the RFP was accepted. And I'm wondering what she means by that.
There's always an evaluation committee that looks at RFPs and scores them based on the criteria contained within the RFP. There will be members of the community chosen. They will not be publicized because there has been an indication that certain people or groups are trying to communicate with the evaluation committee ex parte that would render a proposal null and void. That's just kind of common procurement ethics. But there are people who have been very active in Girdwood, active in land use planning, et cetera, that will be tapped for that.
Hey, Lene Doran. Unmute.
Hi.
There you
Yep.
go.
Hi. This is Lene Doran, PO Box 1064. I also wanted to comment on this proposed release of land by Heritage Land Bank and just say that I believe everybody's fully aware that we're in the middle of doing our Girdwood area plan, and I personally find it very bothersome that this would be moving forward in the middle of the Girdwood area plan not being complete. I think that housing has been an issue for the more than 20 years that I have lived here, and I want the community to be actively engaged in how this land is going to be developed in the best mind for our community, and feel that currently that is not being done. Thank you.
Great, Lynn, I appreciate your perspective. This is the first time in history that we've had two applications, any applications on that land. One of, at least one of those has the financial and professional resources to complete that development. Interest rates are at an all-time low. Construction costs just keep going up. Materials are ridiculously expensive. We could put this on hold for 5 years, and at that time, interest rates could be 10%. Construction prices could have continued to rise, and Girdwood could still have a massive housing problem. We have participated fully in the Girdwood area plan process. It frankly has been going on since 2007. We have funded it. We have sat at the table. We continue to do so. When we wrote the RFP, we prioritized the current plan, draft, visions, and goals. So I don't know that it is in anyone's interest for us to continue to sit on this land. And I hear it in every single meeting I go to that Heritage Land Bank won't put any of the land out there. That's not true. We have two applications and now we're proceeding. So it will, any effort will go through all the normal processes. If the Crow Creek Neighborhood Land Use Plan has to be amended, that will happen in a public process. If there's plating, that will happen in a public process. Rezoning, public process. The sale, public process. So we are not cutting out the community, and to say that we are trying to sidestep the area plan is completely untrue. We got applications in November and February, and we're doing what we're supposed to do. Thank you.
Okay, point of order. This just still is public comment, and we have 3 minutes. So the next hand is Crystal Hoke. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to echo that I think that the way that this process was moved forward, it wasn't gathering the community support that we would like to see in Girdwood. I think the 150 acres amount was definitely not discussed publicly at any public meeting that I was a part of. And also, I do not believe this was on a land use agenda. I think that it was discussed at Housing Committee, but not land use. And if it was because I brought it up, trying to call attention to the fact that this was happening. So I'm concerned for multiple reasons.
Thank you, Crystal. Any other callers on the line? *9 to unmute for your public comment. And thank you, Shelley. I do think that it was fruitful to have all these callers being able to listen and hear feedback. Okay, any other public comment? Jamie Allard, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to briefly say that in regards to what is happening with the tax levy, I don't know if John or anybody spoke. I just hopped on. I just realized this was happening. And I want to let you all know that this is directly impacting Chugiak, Eagle River. I'm the assemblywoman out there. So it'd be Birchwood and Chugiak. So we are going to address this. And I have spoken with John. We were in a public meeting with our work session today and our work session with the Rules Committee. And I am all about the community coming out to testify. I think it's important that we do so. I know that there were assembly members who had mentioned that they feel they already had the votes. That's really a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And so I want to make sure that you feel comfortable knowing that I want to listen to everything the community says. And I know that John Weddleton is going to look at changing the order of the agenda for the day so that we can hear the community first before there is any vote on anything with the tax levy. The reason being is I haven't made up my mind. I need to hear from the community first. So I just want you guys to know that you do have my support and we want to listen to everything. And I appreciate whoever caught it and did what they were supposed to. They did vote on Tuesday night, the assembly did as a body, that we could not reconsider our vote. So when we wanted to move to do that, I voted against it because I had questions further about the tax levy, but there was no way I could get my vote reconsidered. So I appreciate you guys coming together as a community, and this is making a huge difference. So I really sincerely want to thank you because we can't allow this to continue to happen. We definitely have to get this straightened out. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Representative Allard, and your service to the community. We did hear from assembly members, and the whole hour so far has been really well explained to all the guests on the meeting call. So we appreciate you, and we can find your contact on the Muni website. Mike Edgington?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to a couple of things that Jamie just said. So thanks again, Jamie. I actually agree with you. I don't agree with you on many things, I should say, the Assemblywoman Allard, but I do agree with you that I think it's unfortunate that there was an immediate vote to reconsider, to stop which effectively stops these immediate action if these mistakes are discovered. I think that it's a pity you weren't able to attend the whole meeting. We should have a recording available later, perhaps. But I don't think there's any doubt that that this community, and I think other people who joined, or at least some people from your district who've joined the meeting, are in favour of getting this fixed ASAP. There is obviously we need it fixed Monday. I really hope that Monday's meeting doesn't get sort of pushed back because of extensive comments. It's important the comments are heard. It's also important we actually get this fixed before it starts hitting tax bills. So I would like a balance between hearing, everyone being able to say their thing, but also this actually getting fixed on Monday.
Thank you, Mike. Jerry Fox, did you have your hand up or is it back down?
I did, and my hand on a different subject. I'm going to say that Brianna, you run a great meeting, and I know this is your first meeting, and you did very well. So thank you for stepping up.
Thank you, Jerry. Everyone, don't think I'm not concerned about this issue. I'm more concerned about running the meeting okay on my first time as co-chair. Any other public comment? And then I would entertain a request for executive session, if we have one, before adjourning. Oh, Mandy Hawes, you have something?
Yeah, it was just really quickly on the issue of the HLB lands. On behalf of the resort, we actually came in late to this process as well, and I am very excited to see that HLB is looking to release more land and potentially have it developed. But I also agree that it wasn't as well broadcast in public meetings prior to this May 14th deadline, which doesn't give a lot of time for any other people to present as part of the process. So I'll just echo that on behalf of the resort, that I would agree with those previous comments. And, the resort with new ownership has a lot of experience and expertise in construction and development and might be interested in the process as well. But it definitely came as a surprise to us. So I just thought I'd share that feedback as well.
Thank you, Mandy. Any requests for executive session from the board? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that. Thank you, everyone, for coming and attending this afternoon.
Have a good day.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kyle.
everyone. Thanks, community. Thanks, guests.
Thank you.